What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another week of the NFL Food for Thought podcast right here on RotoGrinders.com. I am Justin Carlucci, a.k.a. the Luuch, and I'm alongside of Will Priester, a.k.a. Chief Justice. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing good, man. When you hear that sigh, it almost feels like a bad story is coming, but a bad story isn't coming. Just wish I had a better night and on the prop land. I'm gonna be honest with you, people, just okay night, but nothing spectacular, and we power on. Most people are grinding their DK showdowns, and I usually do a little showdown on Monday, but mostly, man, I'm prop grinding, and it just hasn't come together yet. The cool thing about the prop game is, as long as there's a game alive, you got a shot to do something special every night. Every night, you got a shot. And so that's where I am right now. I do have a shot here late. I've got some, and I'll tell you guys what I have. Let's just lead in with that since we're talking props. And this isn't NFL, this is NBA, but I took Anthony Davis over 25.5 real points with a Nikola Vucevic-less Chicago Bulls team. I took Norman Powell over 16.5 points. And I did that because I did some speculation, figured Dame might be out. Dame could still not play the whole game. So took Lonzo Ball under 13.5 points. Is the Lakers, but hasn't just, he's not that guy on this team because they got the two main scorers. Took CJ McCollum over 34.5 fantasy points, FanDuel scoring. And I took Pascal Siakam over 34.5 fantasy points. And so, look, the night is still young. This could very well be the shaker for the moneymaker, And I'm going to ask this 5-pick flex to shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. I need to shake a few dollars out. You know what I mean? And then I got a little second half action as well for NFL. So, and guess what? Robbie Gould is coming up. And let's see. Come on, Robbie. This is a 50-yard attempt. We get this, we're home. My God, he hit it. Robbie Gould, ladies and gentlemen, has crushed not only his second half prop, but his full game prop, which was at 6.5. Unbelievable. Thank you, Robbie Gould. You may have just helped us put a few more dollars in the bank.
Behind the scenes look at the action of the Chief grinding the prop life, which he is heavily invested in, puts out a ton of great content, which is a beautiful segue. Because no, you're tuned into the right pod. It's not an NBA podcast, but of course, the Chief and I have a long history with DFS NBA and talking about it together. But congratulations to you, my friend, because if you are hear me out, RotoGrinder subscriber, but it's a free Discord room, is that right? For your new avenue here. So tell everybody, what do you got going on the RotoGrinders Discord now, Will Priester? What's good?
Listen, appreciate that, Luuch. It's called Chiefs Prop Shop. And basically, man, we are talking props, everything. Like I was telling Luuch, before the pod, we kick it off in the morning with esports. Esports is going to start at 3 a.m. Eastern time today. And I'm going to be placing those props in after this podcast for anybody that wants to hop in there. Those props will go in. And guess what happens, folks? Esports go all day up until about 5 or 6 o'clock. So we get to wake up to money, to green. I go to sleep. I'm not thinking about it. I wake up I record a video or something. I'll say, oh yeah, let's see how esports is going. I check it. We do well. Great. If not, guess what? Esports typically has a match going on every hour on the hour. So we've got so many chances to take bullets. And then what I like to do, I kind of group mine together. Typically there's 2 or 3 matches per hour. Anyway, that's the esports portion, but we're talking underdog. We're talking Thrive. We're talking a whole lot of prize picks. You guys know I love prize picks and Thrive Fantasy. Talking Thrive Fantasy, love their props over there. So we're doing all of that. And it's fun, man. It's a community. We're all feeding off of each other. I don't know it all, right? And that's I'll tell you that right now. I don't know it all, but what I do know, I contribute. I'm contributing a whole lot of esports, mainly CSGO. We've got a guy in there that's a little bit, pretty familiar with Rocket League. So he's going to do a little bit of that in there. But I'm dropping NBA, I'm dropping NFL, I'm dropping CSGO or CSGO. And those are my specialties for now. That's what I'm contributing to Chiefs Prop Shop. And here's the tagline: come chop it up in the prop shop. Like a chop shop. Get it? Little plate. Anyway, come join us, folks. Tons of fun. A lot of other contributors are in there. Dean's dropping his picks in there. Britt Devine's dropping his picks. Stevie's dropping his stuff. Dan, I'm sure, is going to keep crushing college football. He dropped some stuff in for college football this weekend. We made some money. Listen, man, it's the reason I love this prop game is, guess what, Luuch? Me and you don't have to try to split $1 million. We're literally competing together to try to take this thing, our bankrolls, to the next level. I call it the joint sweat. And there's nothing better than the joint sweat, Luuch, let me tell you, because we can all root for each other. We're all rooting for each other. It's fantastic. Come hang out in the prop shop. It's free. It's free.
Great stuff, man. And of course, if you want some more betting info and picks, we are frequently on Scores and Odds. A lot of us putting our picks on there throughout the week as well. So there are a ton of opportunities to check out what we got going on. And collectively, I think our team's great. Can't say enough good things about the people we have, the content we put out, and the prop shop is an awesome new addition to what we have going on at RotoGrinders here. So awesome stuff. And, you joked earlier, you might have to put some office hours up there so you get a little bit of a breather. But you are very active in the prop shop. So you want to pick the Chiefs' brain a little bit, check out the Discord channel and, see a little bit of the behind the scenes of, what Chief and company, myself included, most likely, I'll probably pop in there and see what the method is behind the madness. Why we look at the things we look at to make these selections. But keep up the success with Prize Picks and Thrive and everything, my friend. And let's talk about some NFL football. Where do you want to begin? You kick this off. Give us some elephants in the room here for the first segment.
This isn't an elephant in the room, but I couldn't be more happy that the Panthers have Cam Newton back in the building. Cam is not an MVP quarterback, okay? But to me, it's kind of like Peyton Manning getting retired by the Indianapolis Colts, right? Retiring with Indianapolis. Kobe retiring with the Lakers. If LeBron would go back to Cleveland, for a day, get a day contract and retire, like Cam Newton has been the Panthers since he's been there. I mean, he's always bled blue, man. Keep pounding. So I'm pretty pumped that Cam is back. And supposedly they're going to work him into starting this week. Wow. I'm excited. I think Joe Brady can get something out of Cam Newton in this passing game. I hope, right? We saw Robbie Anderson come alive a little bit. I mean, he got over 20 yards receiving. Hey, small baby steps here, baby steps. DJ Moore, we're going to see where his target share is. We're going to see where Christian McCaffrey is, but Christian McCaffrey's back. The defense is coming together. Can the Panthers get into the wild card? Maybe. I mean, Tampa Bay lost again. The Saints didn't win.
You're welcome.
I mean, we've got a shot here. Like, you know what I mean?
It's back in the mix with Cam Newton. It's just a little jolt of electricity.
Yeah.
I'm excited for a little RPO game with McCaffrey and Newton. Right?
And we're at home this week. We're at home this week against the Washington football team.
The hot Washington football team.
Listen, I don't care how hot they are. You don't think Ron wants to try to punish Cam and Cam wants to try to punish Ron?
Man, we have storylines upon storylines in that game, my friend.
So I'm really excited. So that's kind of just, I wanted to kick the show off with that, prop shopping that. And I think the biggest elephant in the room here, and I think we touched on this a little bit last week, if I can remember, a little bit last week. No team is safe this season. It's insane. You look at so we saw the Cowboys have a meltdown against the Denver Broncos. I mean, a meltdown, the meltdown of all meltdowns. And they come this week and hang 40 plus on the Falcons. 40 plus. And it's like, hey, we're still okay. Don't worry. Well, Baltimore, they have a football game that they had to play. And Luuch, things did not go their way. What in the world? Just a meltdown, to say the least, against the Miami Dolphins. Okay? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a meltdown against the Washington football team. The Pittsburgh Steelers, no Big Ben. I'm going to listen. Now, first of all, you know what I've said about Big Ben. It is time. And I do still think it's time. But I got to believe if Ben Roethlisberger plays this game, they beat the Lions. Okay, I'm going to give Ben, put some respect on his name because I've been calling Ben out. But if he plays, you got to think they beat the Lions. And I think they said, hey, this is the game where we can make up an injury and give him a break. It's the Lions. And it ends in a tie. 16-16. Najee Harris says, and I quote, I didn't even know we could end in a tie. Wow. A story for another day. The New Orleans Saints, Trevor Siemian, go to Tennessee, don't win. Thank you. Thank you, Luuch. I appreciate it. We need that. Cleveland Browns, going to Foxborough and get waxed. Okay? Waxed. And look, people, I'm going down the list for a reason. I want you to see all of these anomalies. No team is safe. Buffalo thought it might have been a trap game, and they come out and just, say, hey, we're still here.
A week after their meltdown.
Yeah. Their meltdown was last week.
Every team the Titans were the original laughing stock of the league. They had the first meltdown
but it's
against the Jets.
Now.
But not only is it passed, every team is having a one head scratcher and they move on. How do you respond? You can tell a lot by the response. And you're right. Keep going down. You got any more down that list?
Oh, I do. I do.
Go ahead.
There's one big one. I kicked this thing off with the Panthers. Mm-hmm. They go into Arizona. No Kyler Murray. I get it. Hey, I'm not overlooking some of the obvious things here. Excuse me, but they go there. But not only do they win, Luuch, it's not like we win like 18-15 or 17-16. Like we hang 30 on them. Large margin. First game, Cam is back. Just incredible. The Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, just kind of a slow dragging game, and then you look and Aaron Rodgers is almost at 300. Last but not least here, and I think this is the big one to me. Kansas City with their interesting offensive compilation of just bad offensive play, bad defensive play for a large stretch, go into Las Vegas and absolutely embarrass the Raiders organization. what in the world are we? What in the world is happening here? I mean, just anomaly after anomaly after anomaly, and then you go to this week and you say, okay, who's going to get it this week? Because it's coming. Some team that's not supposed to lose is going to lose. I don't know who it is. I can't tell you which team it is. But one of these teams is going to lose. And then we've got, as you've already talked about pre-show, we've got the granddaddy of them all on this slate. The Dallas Cowboys are going into Kansas City. I'm going to stop right there, Luuch. Let you, chime in here. But last week was it was rough. And this week is going to be even more interesting.
The league is so good. I mean, once you have a consistent showing of anomalies, they don't become anomalies anymore. What did we say last week? We're stuck in a space-time continuum. It's the only reasonable explanation we have left.
Space-time continuum.
It's the only reasonable explanation we have left. But I think it's a testament to the competitiveness of the league, the margin, the gap, the skill gap is minimal. The bad teams are good. They can show up once in a while every couple of weeks. It reminds me of March Madness. Last year, it was wide open, but it wasn't bad basketball. It was good hoops. I'm kind of feeling that same way watching the NFL, and it's a treat to watch because I said it before. That's why it's so addicting, because it's one surprise after another. I will say this. It's a week-to-week league. Oh, that's what they're saying. Pat on the back to the Tennessee Titans for finding ways to win these ball games. The Saints did not have their starting quarterback, but Trevor Siemian is a borderline, top 30, 35 quarterback. No Alvin Kamara. I understand. Still have a pretty good defense. New Orleans, really good front seven there. Still got Marshawn Lattimore. Well, the Tennessee Titans, they're on pace to have the most players rostered in any season in NFL history. That is how many injuries they have had. They are well on pace to break that record. It was ugly. But the Titans, of course, do not have Derrick Henry. Season's over without Derrick Henry. 2-0 since that. In this league, when anybody can lose, I will gladly take that victory over the New Orleans Saints as a Titans fan. Defense looks pretty good, all things considered. A lot of talk about that defense finally. Marcus Johnson, big day. Shout out to Mr. Tuttle for touting Marcus Johnson. Having the cojones to tout Marcus Johnson on not one, but two RotoGrinders video audio products. Mr. Tuttle saying Marcus Johnson. What a call.
Listen.
I'm just impressed with the way the culture that Vrabel has really put together here in Tennessee. I'm enjoying this 8-2 run. Whenever the run ends. But I'm enjoying watching a team figure out ways to win in this wacky league after everybody said they were a joke after the Jets game, ripped off 6 straight. It's fun. That was fun.
Don't get me started on Marcus Johnson. Heck of a call by Tuttle. More importantly, A.J. Brown just destroying my props over the weekend. I mean, I had him at over 5.5 receptions, which I thought was very fair considering the situation. And, just didn't work. He didn't care about that. All they care about is winning, and they should. But, man, we got to find ways to be better. A.J. Brown can't have one catch. We can't do that, and you're going to be the lead dog receiver. And, hey, but that's story for the other day. Titans got the win. Congrats, Luuch. Congrats.
I'm enjoying it while we have it. If Derrick Henry comes back in the postseason to any capacity, he will be welcomed with open arms. We will see what happens. I will say this, Chief. That long list of injuries with the Titans have been dealing with. Bud Dupree got hurt first defensive drive. Taylor Lewan was in and out of the game again. In that first quarter of that game, Chief, A.J. Brown took a nasty shot on the sideline. Legal clean hit. It's so hard to play safety in the NFL. Clean hit, just nasty. And it took him about 40 seconds to get up off his knees. I think that might have a little something to do where they stopped feeding A.J. Brown. I do not think he was okay. If he has a good week of practice, what do we say? That's a prop you go right back to the well on.
Oh, man. You know it. Because volume, they may drop it to 4.5. And I'm like, thank you. And I appreciate it.
Back-to-back weeks, they play the Rams. They play the Saints. Arguably 2 top 5 defenses in the league. And they had the Houston Texans this week, my friend. So
you know what that means? L.
Is this it? Is this the game? Is this the game? Just let me know now so I don't have to waste 4 hours on Sunday.
I would prepare for the L.
Oh, don't tell me that.
And enjoy the W. Let's go with that. Prepare for the L. Enjoy the W.
Okay. 2 more games. I think we need to spend a little more time on. Whew. Big Mac attack. The New England Patriots are grooving.
I mean, everybody's got them as a dark horse to get a wild card spot. So we will we'll see how this goes.
What's the biggest news? By the way, 2 podcasts ago, I said New England was making the playoffs and they're going to win a game. But you're skipping the biggest story from that New England game, Chief. The biggest headline. What's the biggest headline in that game? Plenty of them.
I was hoping Joey Bosa was going to get a sack, and he had his hands all over Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford just bread loafs the ball. Gosh, what's the biggest story
in that New England game? Well, I'll tell you what that biggest story is. Jacoby Myers scored his first NFL touchdown.
Well, absolutely. That's
the biggest story.
Yeah, we all were talking about this over the Twitter sphere and the Discord sphere, the Slack sphere.
I think we started that. When we had the trivia with Andre on the show. And it kind of people started to notice. So
speaking of, not to make this about the prop shop, but we will have Chiefs trivia during the week. And today's trivia question was, the person that guessed my birth month would get a free comfy t-shirt. Ooh. And we did have someone guess it only after a few guesses, which was cool. And so they're going to be getting one in the mail. But yeah, we're going to have some Chiefs trivia. We're going to give away t-shirts. We're going to give away a week free of SAO Premium. That's going to be big. And we do have some guys that crank out some winners, me included. Carlucci included, Grant included, Beansy included. Trust me, we've got some heavy hitters, so it's going to be good
for sure. Okay, where do the Browns go from here? What do you do? And is New England for real? Because they are just playing some sound NFL football right now. Whew. What are the Cleveland Browns, Chief?
Possibly dead.
You might be onto something. I mean, Baker Mayfield goes down. Nick Chubb had COVID. Beckham demanded his release. Kareem Hunt's still on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good offensive line, but I mean, where do you go from here? I mean, I did not expect us to be talking about the Browns as possibly the odd team out. And, they have an opportunity to get back on track against the Lions, but the Browns are closing out their year with at Baltimore, at home against Baltimore, back-to-back after a bye. Sandwiched between the Ravens games are a bye week. What awful scheduling. So they go Ravens, bye, Ravens, Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals. Whoo, that is not good.
Yeah, rough. But hey, we're going to figure out where the Bengals are this week. They got to go into town and face the Raiders. And I'm telling you right now, that might be the game. That might be the secret game of the week while everybody's looking at. And we don't. I'm not skipping ahead the recipe of success. I'm not skipping ahead. But I'm telling you, the Bengals Raiders game could very well be the game that no one talks about, but it's like the showcase, right? Like it very well could be the game. And I'm already getting into some prices here. Derek Carr is $5,900 again. Hunter Renfrow is $5,800 again. I think that's what he was last week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I can't. No. They were on Showdown, so he didn't count. Darren Waller is 6,100. Joe Mixon 76. Josh Jacobs 6K. But this could be a big game of the week because this game should have some scoring. It should have some scoring. If nothing else, Joe Burrow is going to be pushing it down the field to his running mate, Jamar Chase, along with, as we always talk about on the Blitz show, T. Higgins, who keeps getting targeted and finally had an okay game. But if you look at this game log, 15 targets week 7, 6 targets week 8, 8 targets week 9, 7 targets week 9, 6 targets week 6. The big game is a coming. Could it be this week? T. Higgins, everybody.
Could very well be. I like that call quite a bit. Another elephant in the room for me is I talked about a couple weeks ago that I don't know what the Chargers are, and I still don't know what they are after this brutal loss to Minnesota, which drops them to 5-4. A big takeaway from that is Mike Williams playing hurt? Potentially. Or is he regressing? I don't know. Either way, he's not nearly involved as he was in the beginning of the season.
And do you think this is correlating to losses?
It could be, but I also think they have enough playmakers on that team to get by.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Vikings. We're talking about some of these head scratchers. But just to point out, I mean, I'm begging for a Mike Williams rebound game as much as the next guy is. But post bye week here, week 8, 14% of the target market share. Week 9, 13%. And week 10, respectable 18%. But earlier in the year, he had some real spike weeks. I mean, he was averaging 19% of the target market share throughout the entire year, which goes to show you, the work he was getting in the beginning. I mean, week 5, 37%. Week 3, 27% of the target market share. And I know if I go back even further, if this ever loads, those numbers were also pretty high in the first couple of weeks as well. Let's see. I'll bring it up right here. Anyway, but in comparison, yeah, exactly. Week 1, 26%. Week 2, 25%. Week 3, 27%. Post bye week, he's in the teens, man. And that's kind of going hand in hand with Keenan Allen's spike in work. I don't think there's a coincidence here. 32% Keenan Allen week 8, 34% week 9, 33% week 10. You just got to keep playing Keenan Allen at this point. There is something happening there between these two Chargers receivers who are often very popular in tournaments and cash games alike. So keep playing Keenan Allen. I think something's up with Mike Williams. I'm not about to play the regression train here because we weren't even sure what he was to begin the season. So that was kind of one of my takeaways when I was kind of watching that game and looking at some of the numbers when they came out.
Yeah, I mean, something's definitely up. Let's say that. Something is definitely up. Now, I don't know what that something is specifically, but something's definitely up. And, it's not looking good. Let's say that.
I'd like to see what Mike Williams' target prop is going to come out on. But look, dating back to week 6, 5 targets, bye week, 5 targets, 6 targets. Typically, you don't catch all of them either. So,
yeah.
If we see a 5.5 number, which we very well might, I mean, I'm looking at under on that if this trend continues. Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you have any analysis on the Chargers with what is going on with them?
Here's what I will say. And so in the NFL, coaches get fired quickly. right? And so when you bring in the new coach, typically you're bringing in a coach for his own culture, but you're also bringing him in so that you could try to win more football games because you believe that this coach is going to not only bring a culture, but a winning culture. Well, that's all well and good, but it still takes players, which the Chargers have. But what I'm more interested in is we had, Mr. Lynn there, Coach Lynn, who was, coaching pretty well. They were playing hard. They weren't winning games. And it's like, oh, well, he's not managing the games well. Right? Okay, that's fine. And then we bring in Staley, and you're pretty much looking at the same exact team. Nothing's really changed. Okay? You look at the Lions. Now, I'm using this as an example. They've had what's the defensive coordinator for Philly now? Who's the defensive coordinator for Philly? Jim Schwartz. Is that him?
We just talked about Jimmy, who's in Tennessee making an impact.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you. I said Philly, Tennessee. Thank you.
Well, you had my brain going because first I'm like, wait a minute, is he talking about Matt Patricia who flopped in Detroit? Remember?
No.
Okay,
but Matt Patricia did flop.
Better as a coordinator.
Okay, right? Patricia. We had Schwartz, and here's what I'm saying: Schwartz had him playing hard, weren't winning games. At some point, the organizations have to start looking within. Do you understand what I'm saying? At some point, we have to quit blaming the coaches. And you have to look at the players and you got to look at the organization and say, what are we doing as an organization? Right? Because you got Justin Herbert, who is arguably the best quarterback out of that draft. And perhaps not even arguably. He's the best quarterback out of that draft. You've got Keenan Allen. You've got Mike Williams.
You got Mike, whatever he is, Williams. That's our new nickname for him.
You got defensive pieces.
You got Austin Eckler.
You've got Austin Eckler. You've got a tight end in Jared Cook. Sir, Jared Cook's not elite, but he's good.
He's not dead yet.
Right. He's good.
Yeah.
They've got not Nick Bosa, but Joey Bosa. Like they've got pieces, right? Why can't this team seem to find a way to win consistently? I think it's an organizational issue. I think we got to quit blaming the coaches in this. Like when you look at the Browns, we don't really blame the coaches. We blame the Browns because that organization has been terrible. 50 quarterbacks in 5 seasons, 50 coaches in 5 seasons. And the Chargers might be on their way to that, Luuch. I'm looking at this organization, and they had, like I said, they've got Staley now. Lynn was before. There was another coach before that I think wasn't there too long. The turnover is happening. The organization's got to start looking at itself. All right, I'm done.
No, you make a really good point. I'm glad we get to talk some X's and O's and some organizational stuff here and mix it in with some DFS and some prop talk because things go hand in hand. Let me ask you this, because of course we're going to spend a lot of time on the Chiefs and the Cowboys, and we can kind of intertwine.
Can I go down one more rant about organization?
You can
Please.
go on as many rants as you want. You have a Discord channel. You can basically do whatever you want.
Well, I'm not Blender, so I can't do whatever I want. However, last rant, because if I'm going to talk about bad organizations, I'm going to talk about good organizations. 2 come to mind. 3 really come to mind, but one is going to seem more controversial than the other because they typically field average teams. And the second one is kind of starting to field average teams consistently now. But 3 organizations come to mind. Love them or hate them. Number 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh has built its brand on winning football and consistency, right? You don't have to worry about who the coach is going to be in Pittsburgh. It's Mike Tomlin. Love Mike Tomlin or hate Mike Tomlin. You can say whatever you want about maybe him needing to leave. Pittsburgh understands that in the grand scheme of NFL coaching, it's very hard to find, one, a motivator of men, and two, someone that's going to help lead a football team. Mike Tomlin's that guy. Okay? 2. And so Pittsburgh does it their way. 2, New England Patriots. Yes, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick built a culture, but let's talk about why it's so good. Whatever the culture is in New England, everybody goes there and buys in. You're not allowed to not buy in, right? If you decide, hey, I don't want to buy into the New England culture, no problem. We'll cut you. We'll release you. You can go wherever you want to go. And yes, Tom Brady is gone. I get it. But we see with Mac Jones that they've got a culture in place, a system in place, a winningness about themselves that even though they may have a rookie quarterback, you can see the culture, right, of New England starting to run through that team. That's 2. 3. And this is the one I said, well, they've got their culture, and it might be a little bit more controversial because they're typically field average football teams.
Hold on, let me guess here. Hold on. They got their culture and they field average football teams. They got their culture and they. Let me go out on a limb here.
They typically field average football teams.
In the past decade or so?
Correct.
NFC?
Correct.
NFC North? No? My colder. They're playing the hot cold game.
We're in the NFC, not the North, though.
Okay. Typically field average football teams. Well, I'm thinking about a couple of cold. So my initial guess was the Chicago Bears because they have that historic, they have that integrity. But
trust me, I don't think their culture is as strong as this one.
Okay. The Dallas Cowboys.
Correct. Yes.
The Dallas
Love
Cowboys.
them or hate them, the Cowboys have a culture.
The definition of average. You said that word average. My brain didn't.
And here's the thing. They want to win. They've just been fielding average football teams. This year, they may be getting away from just average and getting into the upper echelon of the NFC. Say what you want about Mike McCarthy. This team did not do as well under Jason Garrett. These are the facts. They did this well once. We're going to see if McCarthy can have some repeat success. But you have to put some respect on the Cowboys' name in terms of their culture, right? And here's something else the Cowboys don't do, Luuch. They don't fire coaches after one season, right? That's not what they do. See? Listen, say what you want about Jason Garrett, average, whatever. They gave him his chances to be successful, right? They didn't write him off there for a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. They gave him his chances. The successful organizations give the coaches their chances to be successful. And I'm telling you right now, Chargers are headed down a dangerous road. Right? Dangerous. The Lions are about to be the new Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, I think, may have found something with Stefanski, but guess what? Doesn't matter. If they lose this season, he could be out. That's probably an exaggeration, but we know who the Cleveland Browns are. The Jaguars, coach turnover, right? The Giants are starting to enter into heavy coach turnover. You see, start looking at these teams. They're not going to win like that. there aren't a whole lot of Sean McVays out there that are just, you know what I'm saying? It takes something to be a head coach. Anyway, all right, I'm done. I've hogged it up enough with my culture talk.
It's necessary. It's refreshing on this Tuesday of starting the daily fantasy hour. Daily fantasy sports, 80 hours of research week, 700 hours of podcast listening. I listen to mine on 10X, I just want to get as much info in my head as I can get. I'm just kidding. Listen, the Kansas City Chiefs found something. I don't know. Are they back or are they not back? But they found balance. And while I may not be talking run pass balance, they spread the ball out. Good things happen. Against the Raiders, Tyreek Hill had a 20% target market share. Travis Kelce had a 20% target market share. Darrell Williams, who has been a pleasant surprise, 18% target market share. And he mossed a safety in the end zone, by the way.
He did.
Byron Pringle, 10%. Demarcus Robinson, 8%. Mecole Hardman, 6%. The ball was not being forced, and the numbers are not lying. And that team is even more dangerous when the ball's getting spread out a little bit here. As good as Tyreek is, Chief, as good as Kelce is, and they made their plays. They did their damage. But when you keep them honest, and I'm willing to throw the ball in the end zone to Noah Gray. I'll check down at Demarcus Robinson and take 5 yards. But there's Jerick McKinnon. Bloop. I'll throw for 4 yards instead of throwing a pick. Look what you get.
How much of this do you think was the Raiders not sticking to the blueprint to slow down Kansas City and Kansas City figuring something out?
I think it was more of Kansas City figuring something out, like 75-25. And maybe just a little less stubbornness, finally, slowly, from Patrick Mahomes. And dare I say, even a little bit up from Andy Reid. Because you still saw some flashy Andy Reid stuff. But I think that was a big maturity game for Patrick Mahomes. You've seen the tape. You've seen the first half of this season, and you saw it. He was able to get away with some things in the past. Hold on to the ball forever, throw it deep. Always wants the home run because he's more than capable of throwing any pass in the league, and he has two guys who are more than capable of making any catch in the league. But you saw him take what the defense gave him more than probably he was willing to at any other game this season. I think, Chief. Trusting the guys like Byron Pringle, trusting Jerick McKinnon, trusting Darrell Williams, who, dare I say, for Clyde Edwards-Helaire season longers, that might be an even split moving forward when Edwards-Helaire comes back because Williams has been phenomenal. They have a little bit of a formidable run game finally.
Yeah, he's been good.
You know what? You might be right. Maybe the Raiders got away from the exact blueprint, but also with the way that game started, they had to start taking some chances. That game did not begin the way it needed to for Oakland, I think, too. They were stale right off the rip. They were stale.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree at all.
That being said, let's look ahead. Recipe for success.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of chalk in this Dallas-Kansas City game, DFS-wise, and rightfully so. 55.5 total we have right now in that game. Obviously, it's a doozy, a whopping total. These teams had some of their crisis games behind them already. Dallas had theirs against Denver. They obviously had their injury scare with Dak. Kansas City might have had a few crisis games, but they showed enough throughout the year that the offense still was in pieces, the offense that we were accustomed to seeing. First of all, let me put you on the spot. Who wins this football game on Sunday?
I'm going Dallas. I think Dallas has been the better team overall. And I do think Dallas has playmakers on the defensive end that could make this tough on Mahomes.
Micah Parsons
Dallas
has been great.
Yeah. Rookie. I think if Dallas is able to, here's the thing. Dallas can play both styles of football, which really makes them interesting, right? Like they can take the air out of the football and absolutely go to town against Kansas City with Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. And then they can absolutely chunk it downfield, which has been a weakness for the Kansas City Chiefs. They've got both complementary pieces of football. I think it's going to make it really tough on this Kansas City defense. And that's where I stand.
Well, the big thing to me that stood out in the Chiefs-Raiders game, and I think this is a testament of Mahomes getting the ball out. A lot of talk about this Raiders front as well. Max Crosby, I believe, leads the league in quarterback pressures. And a bunch of his friends up front there. They got Yannick Ngakoue and company. No sacks. No sacks against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. That's my biggest macro takeaway from the simple layman's box score. Of course, there's a million different advanced metrics and stats you can look at, but no sacks on Patrick Mahomes. So the line was able to hold up a little bit more. Of course, Mahomes did a little bit running around, but that is big. Dallas, on paper, is the more complete football team. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. They can run the ball with two backs now. They have playmakers upon playmakers on the outside. And I guess just for a good podcast take, I'm going to go with the Chiefs at home to see if I'm right. And maybe this is some momentum for Kansas City. And I tell you what, if they get their mojo back, that's not a team I want to see in the playoffs is the Kansas City Chiefs. But they have to stay balanced.
Hot take. No, you go ahead.
They have to stay balanced. And I just think it's going to be a very telling football game for both teams. You know, if it's a competitive game, 3-point game like Vegas, predicts, then I think it's kind of encouraging for both teams, even the team that comes out with a loss. If this game is competitive, I think the Chiefs will be okay. But I think they might win. I'm going with Kansas City, but I'll probably be losing sleep over that all week. Go ahead, Chief.
So here's my hot take. Kansas City does not make the playoffs. Might not be as hot of a take as we think. But, as it stands right now, what's Kansas City's record? 4-5?
6-4? Here's the problem. They don't have a tiebreaker over the Bills. They don't have a tiebreaker over the Titans if they start head to head, we're talking.
Yeah, my bad. I was looking at something else. Yeah.
But those are two of the bigger problems. They don't have they still have a game left against the Chargers. They're going to need that one, right? They lost to Baltimore. They lost all these head-to-heads, Chief. Could come back to haunt them. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, 6-4. And they get the Cowboys this week, and they can be 6-5. And they get the Broncos, who they should beat, and they'll probably be 6-6. Raiders may be in payback mode, but if the Chiefs are rolling, I'm not going to take them to beat the Raiders. We'll have to see where the Chargers are. They close it out with Bengals, Broncos. So either way, like I understand they could very well still get in. And mainly I think they'll get in because the Raiders might poop this division away. But if the Raiders don't poop the division away, is Kansas City still going to get in? I mean, clearly they'd have to split. They've already lost to the Chargers once. If they lose to the Chargers again, forget it. And the Chargers are at home this time, but you see the Chargers are kind of faltering. But I'm sticking by my hot take, though. Kansas City doesn't make the playoffs.
They might be behind the eight ball if they drop this game to Dallas a little bit even more.
Well, the thing is, The only way they get in is if the Chargers legit have a meltdown. Because the Chargers have already beat them once. And if the Chargers beat them again, because here's the other thing that the Chargers have working in their favor. They've already beat the Raiders.
Correct.
If the Chargers beat them twice and win on the road in LA, the Chargers are going to win this division. As crazy as that sounds. Can the Chargers beat Kansas City twice and split with the Raiders? Or beat the Raiders twice. If they beat the Raiders twice, it doesn't even matter if they lose to Denver. Denver's not better than these other three teams.
I feel like the Chargers are having an identity crisis, and they're gonna have to figure out who they are quickly. I feel like the Raiders know who they want to be, but they're not who they think they are. They don't have the person. They just are not good enough, I don't think, to be who they think they want to be. The Chiefs have the talent to remain with that high octane offense identity and just do enough defensively. But like I said, I think it comes down to Mahomes growing up a little, swallowing his pride, not looking for the home run as much. And I think he started doing that against Oakland. Fantasy-wise, let's talk about this game for DFS, since it is a DFS podcast, by the way.
For sure.
By the way, is 7,100 too cheap for Travis Kelce since he is resurrected? Tyreek Hill, 8,200 on DK. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to come back? I don't know. It's anyone's guess. Darrell Williams is 5,400 coming off a monster game. Pat Mahomes is the fourth highest priced quarterback. Dak Prescott right behind him. We don't have any running back over 9K on the DK slate, Chief. It's going to be easy.
How this goes.
It's going to be easy to get your spend ups is where I'm getting at.
You know how this goes. You play Kelce every week during the regular slates. He doesn't get there. And then he takes the showdown slate and crushes you. And he's going to come back this week and have 5 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. I'm kidding. I really am kidding. I think he's going to be fine. But all in all, Kelce at 7,100 is just fine. Just fine.
The other side of the ball, CeeDee Lamb had one hell of a game.
Again.
Also, Michael Gallup is back. 15% of the target market share, but 35% of the air yard market share. Let me whisper that one more time. Michael Gallup had 35% of the team's air yard market share. He is my sidecar piece of this game if I'm running a little game stack. I hope that ownership will just be low enough on Michael Gallup that I'm going to incorporate him into some of these builds this week. Talk to me about this side. Obviously, there's a million different ways you can go with some Dallas builds. Do you have a preference here on this beautiful Tuesday morning?
Well, I mean, as you can see, Dak is 7,200. And I do think they'll need Dak here. As you can see, Zeke's been priced up to 7,700 for this spot. Zeke hasn't been this much all season. And in this spot, they've got him priced at 7,700. Unbelievable. Is this the onslaught spot, right? Where you take Dak, you take Zeke, and you take like Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb or Michael Gallup? Like, is this one of those onslaught spots, right? Is this the week that Dalton Schultz is going to, kind of come back to life here? Only had 2 targets last week. Is this the week? Inquiring minds want to know. I do think this would be the onslaught week, though, for me.
So now you're saying they're going to blow the doors off the Chiefs.
No, I'm not saying they're going to blow the doors off. I'm saying they could score 28 points and Dak, Zeke, and a receiver could get there.
Very true.
I think this game is going to be competitive. I think points will be available on both sides. Ultimately, I think the Cowboys will prevail.
Right now, it's the only game on the main slate with a total higher than 50. The only one. Arizona and Seattle has a 50 total. We know where the ownership's going to go on Sunday. Take that for what it's worth. You want to fade that game entirely? Be my guest.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to fade that game entirely? I don't think so. But I understand.
Yeah.
We should talk about that Raiders-Bengals game because it does have a 49 total.
And guess what? That's not much different than where we are already.
You're right.
You know?
And Joe Burrow, 6,600 coming off a dud. Had the bye week. Got to hang out a little bit, regroup. I like the spot, Chief. I like the spot a lot. Talk to me a little bit more here about the Bengals and the Raiders.
This game could very well end up not being sneaky by the end of the week. And that's already how I'm feeling about it right now. Like, because people are going to try to find pivots off this Dallas Chiefs game. And, this game just screams, hey, play me, right? Could very well be that game again. Another sneaky game, I think, is Miami and the Jets. Wow. If Tua gets to play Mike White here, one of these quarterbacks could go off for 25 fantasy points. We're going to have good prices on them. And not to overlook the Bengals Raiders, but I know I've already touched on that one. But Miami and the Jets, early shootout spectacular, I think. I think that could be the early game where people overlook. And they just say, and you got two quarterbacks and a handful of receivers on both sides that could possibly get the job done. If you're getting Jalen Waddle in this spot, right, should have a fair amount of targets against the Jets. He's 5,600. You go on the other side, you got Elijah Moore and Crowder and all these guys. Devontae Parker's not playing. Will Fuller's not playing. So Waddle in the game and Gesicki at 52. Gesicki, first of all, he had 7 targets last week and 0 catches. That's a phenomenon in and of its own in the time-space continuum. You're telling me Mike Gesicki gets 7 targets against the Jets and doesn't put up numbers? I don't think so.
Interesting. And you're right, Tua 5,500, super cheap. And Jalen Waddle, sneaky spot for Jalen Waddle, 5,600. You could build with some of these cheap little stacks and have some pieces of one of the popular games if that's the route you're going. I totally get it.
Man, I thought we were going to get more Odell Beckham tonight. Jesus.
Didn't get anything from the Rams tonight, buddy. Ugly.
All right, sorry. Sorry for that other sidebar.
Listen, man. What are you doing with Cam Newton? And what can you advise the public to do with 5,100 Cam Newton? Cam
was 5,100. Not 5,100. Cam came in basically for 2 plays and scored 11 fantasy points. All right, not 2 plays, but you get my point, right? Rush for a touchdown, 3 rushing attempts, 14 yards in a TD, 3 for 4 passing, 8 yards in a TD. If Cam, and they did say it's looking like he's pushing towards starting, they're going to try to work him as the starter. And I just think it's because he's got so much experience, right? If Cam is starting against the Washington football team at 5,100, I think we have to consider it.
All it took for Robbie Anderson to get right was Cam Newton. That's all he needed was Cam Newton, right? It's all the industry was calling for.
Well, Cam didn't play a lot. I know. PJ definitely did his part. We got a win. Let's get another win this week.
XFL superstar PJ Walker. Gotta love it.
Listen, he was if you weren't playing PJ Washington in the XFL, you weren't doing it right. He was spectacular. Secondly, the XFL will be back. Story for another day.
Love the XFL.
Yeah. Can they just get someone to sustain it?
Since the Tommy Maddox days, my friend.
Oh, wow. Watch out. He hate me.
Ooh.
That was the first XFL.
Mm-hmm.
With the nicknames on the back. Man, can we get Odell like you thought they would have put Odell? Never mind. You guys don't want to hear me rant tonight. I'm actually tilty and I don't do that a lot.
All right. Looking at some of these other prices, I'm just going to go look at running backs since we covered a lot of quarterbacks. Looks like Aaron Jones is going to miss some time. DK did a good job of pricing A.J. Dillon accordingly at 6,200. Fairly accordingly. So
listen, I was going to say that might not be enough.
Fairly according. I mean, at least he's not a free square. How many times did everybody in the industry play Mike Davis at 4K? I mean, you're well aware, being the Panthers fan you are last season. Yeah. So at least he's not a free square. Like there has to be some thought behind it now. So that's good. Listen, okay, we're going to kind of kill two birds with one stone here. Are you willing to just toss out that Seattle Green Bay game that we just witnessed with two quarterbacks coming back, Rodgers had COVID, whatever, Wilson had a staple taken out of his thumb, his issue. Like, it's either one of them more. Are you worried about Wilson or Rodgers or both or neither?
No, I'm not worried about either one of them because Russell Wilson has never been in this offense consistently high volume, high passing yards. And Aaron Rodgers hasn't really been that either. Aaron Rodgers has been Mr. Magician, but Aaron Rodgers was never a guy that was going to throw for 350 every game. That's not who he is. And I think we talk about him like he's Patrick Mahomes or, let's go with that, Patrick Mahomes. But he's not that guy. Aaron is like his own. He's just a good passer. He's a great quarterback.
I would say,
but Aaron Rodgers is not electric.
I think he's situationally electric, but because you're right.
But you get my point
because
he's not. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It goes hand in hand that he's not throwing the ball 50 times every other week.
Right.
I will say he could be a top 5 most efficient quarterback of all time. Efficient.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Probably is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the media, along with Stephen A. Smith, has now deemed him a bad man, Aaron Rodgers, and that may have some truth to it, like you said, situationally. But all in all, Aaron Rodgers is. I'm going to say this. Uh-oh. Don't throw the tomatoes at me. He's a glorified game manager. That hits a few Hail Marys on Monday night and Thursday night football. When's the last time Aaron Rodgers has gone all the way to the Super Bowl? I don't care if you get in the playoffs every year. If you're the bad man, let's get to the Super Bowl consistently. Yep, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to blame Mike McCarthy, and we're going to blame Matt LaFleur. See? You see how that works?
Well, on last week's podcast, we did a hell of a lot of blaming on the front office. When's the last time they got him some more help, though, Chief? Oh, he's got Randall Cobb back. They got his guy back.
Listen.
His ring this year.
Listen,
Cobb.
I will go on the record and say that he has not had help. And I will also go on the record and say, why in the world didn't they go after Odell Beckham? Like, say, look, Odell, you're coming here. You're coming here. What does it take? Okay? Now watch this. Comparatively, the baddest man at quarterback is Tom Brady, who got it done with no weapons consistently. And now you see what he can do with weapons in a high octane offense. Didn't win this week, But all in all, Tom Brady at 40 plus years old is still pushing the ball down the field. How many yards per game is Tom averaging? Is it over 300? I don't have it in front of me. My guess would be around 302. Could be wrong. I'm stalling so you can look this up if you're looking it up. I'm actually stalling. And we could probably just look it up on a player card or something. So
just keep talking. I'll look it up. I got you, brother. Keep going.
This is what it's like, guys. At any rate, look, I don't dislike Aaron Rodgers, guys. I like him a lot. But you're never going to hear me call him this massively elite quarterback.
So Tom Brady's electric is what
No. And let me clear that up because I don't want anybody to call me out on this. Not Matt. Aaron Rodgers is great. He's fantastic. But he's not electric. And I think the media has made him out to be electric. And that's just not who he is. He's a better version of Alex Smith.
Ugh.
Yeah,
don't like that one.
All right. Listen, now I'm being facetious. Now I'm being facetious. I just did that because they got drafted the same year. That's all I did. Okay, so don't.
Alex Smith continuously got the raw deal, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm out.
How many yards per game does Tom Brady average in his career?
You know what?
I know
this is going to be a Chiefs trivia question in the Discord. If you're listening to this, and I ask this question in the Discord, you're probably automatically going to win. So we'll figure out if anybody in Chiefs Prop Shop listens to Food for Thought.
Listen,
now, I said 302.
Listen. I want you to tell me what these three quarterbacks' career passing yard per game averages are. Tell me.
No. I meant this year, not career.
Oh, this year. Okay, this year. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant this year. And here's why I'm saying this year. Because this is the first year Tom Brady, or second year, Tom has had like Bruce Arians, right? And Bruce Arians is a more aggressive coach. And so I do want to take that into consideration because that's really what I'm saying about Aaron Rodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did I say? He's had Matt LaFleur, he's had Mike McCarthy, and he's won, but he hasn't got going all the way. So this year, Tom Brady, my guess was 302. That was my guess. And I figured that because I can see the box score in my mind. I'm not looking at it. I can see the box score of 350, 360, 212, 365. You see what I can see it. So we're taking it higher. Okay. Higher. I was thinking about that song. Your love lifted me. Yeah, that's it. 325.
318.9.
Okay. And Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to take a stab at this. Did you have Aaron pulled up by chance?
Oh, I got it, buddy.
Okay.
Getting paid overtime this week, buddy.
I would say Aaron Rodgers is averaging 253.
Close. 242.
I rest my case.
I will say this. Tom Brady has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons where he's averaged at least 280 yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
How many times has Aaron Rodgers done that? 280 is the magic number.
Let's go 10.
You're telling me that Aaron Rodgers has averaged 280 yards per game 10 times?
Let's go 10. Let's go 10. I mean, because this is his, 17th, 18th season?
So he came in the league in 2005, but officially started in 2008. So 13, 14, 13 years. 13
okay. Well, no. So I won't go with 10 then.
Okay.
Let's go 7.
Survey says he's done it twice.
Okay.
I'm helping you prove your point here. He has a couple of seasons in the 270s.
Okay. And see, what I was trying to do was give him half of the time. And he's not even doing it half of the time.
Guess whose career quarterback rating is higher? It's Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. So everybody, and then, you know what? That's not exactly fair. I mean, Rodgers.
Agree or disagree.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is a great or spectacularly glorified game manager.
He's the best to ever do it if you're putting him in that category.
And that's not a knock on Aaron Rodgers. That's to say we've made Aaron Rodgers, the media, me included. I'm going to include myself in the media because we've got media things going on here. We've all, with the influence of Stephen A. Smith on television, have talked about the greatness now of Aaron Rodgers. And he has been great at times. But all in all, what's so special about Aaron Rodgers versus Jimmy Garoppolo? If at the end of the day, championships are what's going to matter. And championships aren't the only thing that matter. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying, when you're one of the greats, like, for instance, Drew Brees is going to the Hall of Fame, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm saying, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Aaron Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame too, along with Tom Brady and Dan Marino.
Right, but Aaron Rodgers is going in as a game manager, so he only gets a small little section in the back of the Canton show.
No. There's a reason I'm naming these particular players because, and man, this has been a good pod this week. I think it's been a real pod, right? Like, this has been a real one.
Let's take the mid-season break from all of the DFS.
Yeah, this has been a real one.
And hit the reset button, and we'll talk about the best game managers in NFL history.
Here's my question.
As you were.
And I brought this up for a reason. So Aaron Rodgers is going. How many championships does he have? Currently 1. Drew Brees is going. How many championships does he have? 1. Dan Marino's in. How many championships does he have? 0. We know Tom is going. Do you think Phillip Rivers is going? But why wouldn't he go? Dan Marino got in. Okay. And I think you know where I'm going with this, Luuch. Because there's one quarterback that may be the most controversial. Does he get into the Hall of Fame of all time? Multi-championships.
Do we have to go there tonight?
We do. Multi-championships.
I know.
And people are on the fence, and Aaron Rodgers is guaranteed to get in.
Oh, man.
Come on. Do you see where I'm going with this? Which is going to matter more in the end? Is it the winning or is it the glorified greatness? Which one is it? We can say all we want about, well, he had a defense that helped him out. He did. He absolutely had one. How many championships does he have, Luuch? I want you to please say this for me on the airwaves. You know who we're talking about. Everybody knows who we're talking about. How many championships does Eli Manning have?
He has 2.
And who did he have to beat in those 2?
Well.
Okay. Well, the Patriots. The Patriots. We don't have to say Tom Brady. We'll say the Patriots. And so that's my question, right? Like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers has been great. And guess what? Look up Eli Manning's numbers. He's got the numbers too.
He was exactly 117 and 117 in the regular season. A 500 quarterback, but has 2 rings. Now, Eli Manning has thrown 20 interceptions in a season on 3 separate occasions. Eli Manning has thrown for 30 or more touchdowns only 3 times.
Okay. How many times has he averaged 280?
The magic number says once.
Okay. And how many championships does he have?
And how many times can you catch lightning in a bottle in one lifetime?
Apparently twice.
Apparently twice, my friend.
But What we're saying is this.
Does he pay residuals to Mario Manningham, you think? And David Tyree? Do
Perhaps.
they get the annual fruit baskets on the porch at the wintertime?
Perhaps. But here's what I'm saying. Aaron Rodgers only averaged 280 twice. He has one championship. Eli Manning has averaged it once, and he has 2 championships.
You know what they say, Chief? It takes all 11.
I'm going to tell you this right now. For everybody that thinks people are on the fence about this, Eli Manning is going to the Hall of Fame. And there isn't anything anybody can do about it.
I agree.
There's nothing
to the Hall of Fame
we can do. He's getting in.
This is a fun game.
Yeah.
This is a really fun game. Because
I'm looking at
part of the Canton is he has the hardware. If he doesn't have the hardware, he doesn't get in.
Guess what? That's my point.
He doesn't get in. I know that's your point. Your point.
He is
because
was
the legacy,
quintessential.
He is the leader of the space-time continuum. He is the anomaly.
Yes.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame. Eli Manning's driving the spaceship and he's crashing it right into planet Earth.
Yeah. That's exactly what he's doing. It's all going to collide in Canton, baby. It's all coming to a head.
So legacy and the hardware are a integral part of the resume. Listen, folks, we are down the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes, and I hope you're enjoying. But
you got to enjoy it.
As much as we're going to play.
This is what you guys want to talk about anyway. Like, come on. This is the fun part of this.
You're only going to watch 12 more shows this week or listen to 15 more podcasts and hear about these. I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play. It's Tuesday, but let's play the quarterback game.
Let's play the who gets into the Hall of Fame. This is fantastic.
All right, we're gonna do one more. I'm giving you a mystery.
Last thing.
Okay.
No, I want you to do this. Guys, we're getting excited here. I want you to do this. But man, I had flashbacks just now of Jimmy G talking to Aaron Andrews because he was talking to Lisa Salters. And I'm not sure if anybody remembers that when he saw Aaron Andrews and winked. It was like, I'll see you later, baby. Oh, man.
He only does that after big wins, which aren't many.
Yes. Okay. One more, and we're out.
He's got like that confident, people drink a couple beers, they get that confidence juice flowing. He gets a big win and he starts winking at all the reporters. I mean, come on, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Can't wait for next week's episode when we talk about what's wrong with the Rams, but stay tuned for the quarterback game because we're
still in the time-space continuum. The Rams go down to the San Francisco 49ers.
All right.
Last
one for you. I have a mystery quarterback here, and feel free to play at home, folks. Feel free to play at home. I have a mystery quarterback here. We're talking about that magic 280 number. I hear you clicking over there. I don't want to see no Googling going on, Will Priester.
No Googling.
He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons of averaging 280 yards per game. He has at least one Super Bowl. I won't tell you if it's one or more.
Hold on, say it again.
He has at least one Super Bowl.
And then what's the first statistic again in terms of yards per game?
He has 4 seasons of 280 plus.
Okay. Has at least one Super Bowl.
He has 0 seasons of 40 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. 0. No seasons of 40 touchdowns. I'm painting a pretty good picture here. In fact, I'll take it a step further. He has no seasons of 35 or more touchdowns.
And he's still playing right now.
I can't tell you that.
Oh, okay.
I can't tell you that.
Okay.
I think that would give it away.
Okay.
So the Aaron Rodgers glorified game manager thing was like a little bit of a stretch, but I understand it. He's like stuck between lethal all over media and game. He's like in the tier between. He's just so freaking incredibly good at what he does. He's a surgeon. Here's the thing. This guy I'm talking about doesn't have any seasons of 35 or more touchdowns. He has hardware, and he has 4 seasons of 280 plus yards. If he isn't the best game manager we've seen in our lifetimes, I don't know who is.
Let me say Aaron Rodgers. I feel like he's in between Patrick Mahomes and And the reason why I'm saying Patrick is because he's the most recent electrifying quarterback we've seen. I think Dan Marino might have been the guy back in the day, right? And so I feel like Patrick Mahomes would have been between, not Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers would have been in between, in my opinion, Dan Marino and let's go Joe Montana.
That's fair.
Let's go there
today, baby. I love it.
You see what I'm saying? It's like right in between those two from the old days. In today's game, in terms of electric, because Dan Marino was like, he was considered electric, like during his time. Like, my gosh, just okay. So in today's game, I feel like he'd be in between, since we're all still playing, Patrick Mahomes and let's go Kirk Cousins. And the reason why I said it is because Tom Brady, in my opinion, has his own category. And I really mean that. Like, he's done it all. Okay, so 280, 4 times, hasn't gone past 35 touchdowns in a season.
But he has some hardware.
And he has some hardware.
In fact, he averaged 258 yards per game.
It's definitely not Peyton Manning. It's
survey says.
I'm eliminating some people.
Okay. All right.
I'm eliminating some people.
I'll give you one throwaway guess, and then I'm calling clock on you for time purposes here on Food for Thought.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm going Steve Young.
Not right, but good guess. Good guess. Or do you want one more guess?
I'm gonna go one more. So yeah, definitely not Peyton. Definitely not Drew Brees. Of course not Brady. Not Troy Aikman, I don't think, because I don't think Troy would have averaged that many yards passing.
He's thrown for 4,000 yards in a season 6 times. That's it. He's played for a long time now, 16 years. It's looking like,
oh wow,
17. Are we near 17? I can't count. It's too late. Too late at night here.
Ben Roethlisberger?
It's big. No, it can't. It's big Ben Roethlisberger.
Let me tell you what threw me off. In my mind, Ben had absolutely thrown for 40 plus, especially in those Antonio Brown Le'Veon years.
Right.
But he didn't do it.
He didn't. He
man.
2015. Listen to this. He was hurt that year. 2014, he threw for 309 yards per game, only had 32 touchdowns.
But Antonio was there, and so was Le'Veon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they just, because Le'Veon would probably have, 1 or 2 per game on the ground. He probably passed, maybe no more than 2 or 3 per game. I can see it. Like, I could see him putting up over 300 yards passing and only having 2 passing touchdowns most games. And then a sprinkle of a game with 4. And then Le'Veon, when it gets cold, Le'Veon cranks it up and he has 2 or 3 rushing. And Antonio has 1 receiving. And Ben's still throwing for 300 yards, but he's not getting a touchdown. I can absolutely see it. It makes total sense to me in my mind.
Now, if you told me Ben Roethlisberger was your best game manager of all time, I can understand the theory. Vintage Ben, scary dude, because he just did not make those mistakes. And I think that's where he kind of got a little bit of that manager label. But man, that guy,
here's the thing.
He just won. He was clutch. He made all of the big throws. But look at the support. This goes hand in hand with our organizational conversation we had. He always had the support he needed every season. 90% of the time, he had a top half of the league defense, if not a top 10. Always had a
top 10 wide receiver.
Always had a coach. Couldn't have been a better situation for Big Ben. After that whole Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers draft, we talked about both of them. And you know what? He waited forever in that first round. And great ESPN film, by the way, where they talk about that draft. And
it was a good draft, like overall.
And poor Ben waited forever. And you know what? It made his situation to one hell of a legacy. But he's got the hardware. He doesn't have electric numbers. He's never thrown for 40 touchdowns, right?
And guess what? I would never call Ben electric. Never. You want to hear me say, "Oh, Ben's electric"? Here's what I will say:
it's electric.
Woogie, woogie, woogie. Here's what I will say: in the time-space continuum, I do think check marks along the career matter, right? So Tom Brady's pretty much done it at every stop in his career. Rookie, a younger quarterback, what we thought was his prime, and then slightly outside of the prime, right? Tom Brady's done it at every check mark. And so I do understand that there's validity in looking at that, right? Like quarterbacks can become game managers in their older years. Peyton Manning, as an example. Drew Brees, as an example. Now, Phillip Rivers he probably should have, and he just couldn't do it. He's a gunslinger. He just couldn't do the inner working most parts of his heart would not allow him to be that. But what Aaron Rodgers has done is win consistently. And that's something I will not take away. He has won consistently every year. The problem is the media has elevated him to a level of greatness in terms of, I guess, winning, but he has not achieved the championships, right? And I think for me, what I'm looking at is for Aaron Rodgers to really be in the upper echelon of quarterback, where are the championships?
My rebuttal to you is, before we get the hell out of here, folks, is in the NFL, look at everything we talked about today. More than ever, it's an any given Sunday week. Any given Sunday league. Sorry, I'm tongue twisted there. My dog just got a sweater, which I can't stand for her. I got to have a word with my girlfriend, and she's trying to get it off. Anyway, one Super Bowl in the NFL is a lot because it's not a sport based on series. Every other sport, and I get it, it's because of the physical nature and for time purposes, you just can't space these things out. NBA best of 5, best of 7. MLB plays 160 regular season games and then goes, best of 7 World Series. Hockey plays series in the playoffs. For everything to go right, completely right, more than one time for a full season in your career, having one Super Bowl is a lot, which is why I'm fine with the label Aaron Rodgers gets. He has the swag, and which is why it solidifies, signed, sealed, stamped, and delivers Eli Manning into Canton. Whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not, whether anyone else outside of the state of New York likes it, Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl rings, and I know you proved that point, and that's what you were making too. 2 is a hell of a lot of hardware in the NFL. You have 2 Super Bowl rings, you're a borderline legend, and that's just the way it is.
Hey, listen, we may have just solved the time-space continuum Hall of Fame debate on Eli Manning on this show, and we need to get this out to the masses, folks. Tweet at us, hit us up, share your thoughts. Right, like we're not in this thing alone. This is everybody's podcast. We're just on here to get the conversation started. Share something with us.
Yeah, that was one of our better rabbit holes. We'll hit you more with some DFS. Consider this kind of our bye week, since there are so many variables moving into this week with injuries. And, for example, just before DeAndre Hopkins, is he going to come back if he does these 6,500? Why am I going to waste time on it now telling you he's an obvious play if you play, at 6,500? Anyway, once again, if you skip through this podcast and got to the good quarterback stuff here, check out the Chiefs prop shop on Discord, and the Chief will be in there this week with probably some guest cameos and appearances from some of us here at RG who are crushing the prop game. So congrats again to you, Chief. And where can the people find you on Twitter to catch up on some of the content you're putting out?
Yeah, man, at Chief Justice 06, that's where I am. Thank you guys for hopping in the prop shop. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good ride, and shout out to Dan Bach as well for just giving us this little platform to do something we love.
Well, let me take this one out of here, folks. And thanks again for sticking with us, listening. We hope you find some of these debates as entertaining as we do. And watch me get this little jab in here at the end. So for the game manager, Will Priester, I'm Justin Carlucci. Have a great one, everyone, and good luck.